Hey guys, and welcome to some Final Fantasy XIV. I almost said 15 for a second, I had to catch myself. And in this episode of Halloweenie, we'll be going over some of the spookier dungeons that I've gone through. And as you can see, I'm in costume, the best I could for now. A vintage Kiki from Kiki's Delivery Service, with a little Gigi running around in the background. Usually I'm a black mage when I do this, but since we'll be going through dungeons unsynced, I figure why not have a little 90. So we're gonna go through our first dungeon. So we're gonna do Unrestricted Party. And it's in Realm Reborn. It's Tamtara Deepcroft Hard. This dungeon gives me the heebie-jeebies every time I run it, because it is very dark in theme. Basically, we were invited to a wedding, and one of the characters, Etta, that we had gotten to know and love throughout A Realm Reborn, pretty much lost it after she lost her fiance. And she was the healer, so she got the blame for it, pretty much. She wanted to be a better healer like us, but she just pretty much, she lost it, to say the least. And this dungeon is originally, when you go through it with the lower level, I think it is the first dungeon you go, not the first dungeon, the second dungeon you go through. And you pretty much wipe out some cultists and one of their summons. And we're just going through this one unsynced instead of explorer mode, because I really want you to get to see some of the bosses and see just how warped this place has become. Like, here's one of the party members. That Etta had. And even she knew something was off. So we've got to go through these defiled coffins and clear the tomb, pretty much. Let me turn around. Let me turn around. Why can't I turn around? There we go. That was weird. And you can tell that these are monsters. People's wills, discarded bodies, souls. It's just a creepy dungeon overall. But it's one of my favorites to go through, because it gives us a sight that Final Fantasy isn't all butterflies and rainbows sometimes. Sometimes it can get really dark, like the newest expansion has shown us. Like the previous one, Shadowbringers, was pretty dark, but Endwalker really was the cherry on top. Here, an AoE might be better. There we go. Instead of just single-handedly picking things out like we have been doing. Here we're gonna save Pio from the creepy stuff. And usually when you do this, stuff comes for him. I think it's just my mouse that's messing up, because I'm using the back of a sketchbook as a mouse pad. Ew. Discarded eye, spare lungs. Creepy. Now this episode might be longer than some of the Halloweenie ones because we're going through 4 dungeons. That I know of anyways. I haven't thought of many other dungeons because some of the other ones require a queue time, like Palace of the Dead, which is one of the scary ones. Now here's Etta and her fiance's head. Yeah, creepy. We basically have to stop at Ver here. And they go through their vows. And each one of the attacks is named after a different thing, like a red wedding as one of the references. You know, until death. Hello there, Emmerich, the elephant. Nice to see you're in costume as well. I get a kick out of this. So much. Okay, now our next dungeon is Hawk Manor Hard, which is from the same expansion. Trying to see if I have any more facts that I can give of this dungeon. When you first go through here, I think you go upstairs. Yeah, you go up here to the right. When you first go through this dungeon, you're basically going through it, getting rid of the evil spirits and the things that are basically killing poor maidens. In this one, you're saving the wood whalers from being turned into demons. And it has a music track that reminds me of Persona. Which hopefully we won't get copyright striked, because I should have the volume down low enough. Because I can barely hear it on my end. This dungeon's just full of spooky things. And the lower level version of this dungeon, the original Hawk Manor, is used for the Halloween event every year for All Saints Wake. Like, I don't think there's been a single year where it hasn't been used. You'll get to hear me clicking away repeatedly because I use half button, half click. So, ouch, those hurt a little. I'm just gonna run through here. Have everything follow us. And we'll just defeat them all when they get here. Yeah, these doors will attack. I don't know why I said ow, that didn't really hurt. I have like 203,000 down here. Did I forget to do something? I forgot to grab the key. It's been a while since I've been in this dungeon. Like, I just don't get it for keys anymore. Okay, now we'll be able to go into the next room. And goodbye. We're gonna take this crystal ball again, and they'll take us to the next area, which is down in the cellar. We're just gonna keep running and let everything come to us. You can see why I chose this dungeon as one of the spookiest. Like, it's not particularly scary, it's just unnerving. Okay, now we're on to the final boss, Halloweenie. Now normally, you have to go through phases with her. Otherwise, she will get you. Like, she's one of the harder bosses from A Realm Reborn, in my opinion. But she will go into phases where she'll eat the things that she summons, and then do blood rain. And if they have too much health, the blood rain will kill you. Hello, Emmerich, once again. Seems like every time we come here, we do this. Let's go into Explorer mode. And see if we can get to the other ones. Now these are spoilers. Forewarning. Endwalker spoilers. This one, we're going in Explorer mode so we can take a look and actually take a peek and see what this dungeon's like. Now you can use your mounts. We're going to use the Witch's Broom. But you can see why this one is creepy. Like, this one is end of the world happening creepy. Apocalyptic. And unfortunately the All Saints Wake music isn't really helping. Move that out of the way. Yeah, everything's on fire. Everything's just really dour and spooky. Like, I had a real grave feeling when I was running through this dungeon, because the story around it was pretty dark, with people turning into monsters and everything. It was terrifying, to say the least. Here's where the first boss spawns. He does a lot of tricky things. Sometimes confusing, sometimes not. Because he likes to change up your control scheme. Which definitely does not help things. Yeah, this is the once peaceful forest now on fire, and just everything's dour. Like right here, you see a mother and her kids turn into enemies. It was really creepy. And I'm saying creepy a lot. It's just like sometimes they're spooky, sometimes they're creepy, sometimes they're just downright grave. I don't remember the boss here, to be honest. I think it was a scorpion, maybe? I don't remember. It was a pain in the rear, I remember that. The first time I ran through it. Because I had a party that was just all relatively new to the game. So they hadn't quite got a grasp on some of the mechanics. And even I didn't have the mechanics all the way down. So we didn't wipe. But, you know, things happened. I forgot you gotta go up here. And here we're basically at the final boss. And the final boss here, he looks like the one from Shadowbringers, almost, with all the mouths and everything. He'll do mechanics that involve these little squares. And to this day, I still don't know some of the mechanics, so I follow people. And we'll go through the last dungeon. Emmerich again. Looks like he's just gonna be here every time. Like, we've got some really spooky ones that come in. Like, I think this one is the least creepy and spooky, along with Smileton. But definitely this one takes the cake. It's basically in the world of the 13th. It's from the most recent patch. And the 13th, basically, if you haven't been paying attention to the storyline, basically had been consumed by darkness. So everything here is just dark and warped. And there'll be things that used to be people that you have to fight. They're all void sent. So we're going through this dungeon here. A literal dungeon. And we're going to be going through the castle eventually once we get up from the dungeon. I forgot we can mount up here. And here's the outside. You can see the castle and how majestic it is. It's quite something. But it's like, yeah, there would be enemies here that you would fight, but this is explorer mode where you're allowed to mount up and G-pose and do everything that you want to do in the dungeon, instead of just G-posing while you're actually doing the dungeon. It's quite a spooky place. A dark castle filled with void scent. Like it'd be spookier if I was able to run it, but the queue times are ridiculous for DPS. So we're not exactly gonna do that. This is the throne room. You do quite a lot of stuff in the throne room. And then you continue upwards. And out here's the terrace, which is somber but beautiful. I like how they still have it, even though the world's in darkness, there's still some plants that manage to thrive. I myself haven't finished the story yet because I was just saving some for the next batch. Excuse me, I choked on my tea. And then here's where you fight the final boss that I can't pronounce their name. I would say it if I knew how to pronounce it. Scarmiglian? Something like that. You fight them here. But yeah, that's our grand tour of two of the spookiest Endwalker dungeons that I noticed. I mean, they're the Tower of Babel. Not the Tower of Babel, the Tower of Zot was creepy, but it didn't have the same impact on me as Venice Body and the Fell Court of Troya did. Especially Venice Body. That's my favorite dungeon of Endwalker. It's got good gear too. But yeah, I don't think there's any other real dungeons that we could go through that are scary. Like, I mean, there's the Gabal Library, which is literally, well, it's a library. But Shadowbringers has one that we can go through. Matoya's Relic. But I think I'll save that for another time. Because Matoya's Relic is literally Matoya's cauldron and all that stuff. Her library. Her workshop. So, those were some of the spookiest dungeons that I could think of. There might be more. If there's more, put them in the comments below, and I will read them, because I would love to see why. Just make sure you put a spoiler warning in some space. Like a read more or something if there's a big spoiler. I'll make sure that everyone knows that there's spoilers in this video. But the next Halloweenie video that I'll be posting will probably be, let me check the date. It'll be another game, and then when the 19th rolls around, I'll be recording All Saints Wake. So I'll make sure I have a little block for my little window here. Actually, I'll just make it as small as possible so you can't read it. Because there'll be a lot of people saying a lot of things, and I don't know if it's gonna be, I can't think of the word, explicit, or if it's gonna be normal. It's Genova, you never know. But thank you guys for watching, and until next time, guys, see ya.